I'm trying to think. I have not. I played Smash Brothers with my son and some Kirby today, and that's all I've done. What happened to today? What happened last week? I had the last week off, and now tomorrow I'm going back to work, and I'm dreading it. Not looking forward to that. Yeah, Pat, I'm actually at the battle after that bad one, the boss. Oh my gosh, doing sanding. Hey, Cube. I used reach max level so the battles aren't. Oh, do you have the option in New Game Plus to go up to hard mode, or do you just have to stay at the same level? So like if you want to do hard mode and do a New Game Plus, like it's all relegated to the same. You can change the difficulty. Sweet. Did you? I am fully 100% I'm gonna do that. So anyway, give it just another minute here, and then we're gonna get started. So what this is I'm doing my podcast stuff, right? And I've wanted to do, I don't know, some kind of, not show, but like some kind of, just chatting uh thing for a while. And I just was like, I'm small, I don't have the player base to do that. I can't do that. Like, it's just not gonna work, right? Because you kind of have to have people, right? Otherwise, it's just like, ooh, okay, I'm just gonna talk to myself for an hour live, as opposed to just doing it, in front of a camera, which I am. It's literally the same thing, but at least there's the potential that somebody could show up. Yes, I had to make the scales of conviction before going to the next battle. And I chose. There's one of three actually, and then a couple of the people, they go one way, and they're like, that's like they're going their separate ways. Anyway, so I've wanted to do a something like that, and now that I've been doing the podcast and I've been having a ton of fun with that, and it's been just wonderful. Uh, um, I thought, you know what? I'm like, as a hey, what's up, Chrome? I'm watching Canada go. Three flags all wait, there are three flags now on the Reddit thing, and they're all failing. You're probably gonna hear my screaming kids out there but at least they're screaming in joy. But anyway, so what I'm gonna be doing with these is just a chance to get in here, chat with you guys, and then also, like, once the video's up, pull this video, probably upload it to YouTube. Kids are loud. Yes, they are. They're outside. They're like 50 feet away outside. So, yeah. Was just listening to that last episode. Nice. But I want to, like, I'm going to put these recordings up on YouTube. I'm going to pull the audio and upload the audio to my podcast. So basically like a secondary, if this works, right? Like, we cannot draw a leaf to save our lives. I just saw that. Sorry, Chrome. And then also, just so that you know, I added a few more things to use your electrics on. And it's going to be used for these types of things. And so, like, we're just going to do once. The plan right now is once a week, probably on Sundays. I'm trying to find a time that, to track from the topic at hand. Yes. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So I just had some fun stuff planned that I wanted to talk about. So what we're going to go over tonight is we're going to be rating some controllers, the best controllers, the best console controllers. We're going to be rating the best game consoles. And then I'm going to be talking about Like a Dragon a little bit. Okay? And then if you guys bring anything up, we'll kind of throw that in as well. So you can check out the extra commands that I threw in there. I threw in a few. I also changed the amount. So you have to be a regular viewer in order to get those amounts at least. I couldn't find where to adjust how much channel points you get. I couldn't find it today, and I was like, I'm going to leave it alone for today. I got too much other stuff. But, that's that. So anyway, what's presentation mode? Ooh, that's what I want. Yeah. All right. I have very limited experience with controllers, but this will be fun. Yeah, we're gonna make everybody angry. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So first, we're gonna rate controllers. There's two Bill Ciphers, by the way. Like Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls, like they're doing that on Reddit. And then for those people that may be listening to this after the fact and not part of the live stream, uh, there's a thing going on Reddit, and I didn't realize it's like this, like there's so many, like how diverse it is. But basically, it's like everybody gets a pixel. I don't remember how Cube had mentioned like how the pixel gets divvied out, but it's like kind of like how the community did a Pokemon plays, like they played Pokemon by putting in commands and stuff. Cube already asking them questions. Everyone can place a pixel every 5 minutes. Thank you, Chrome. And so basically they're all sorts of things. So the thing that we were making fun of earlier is there's apparently 3 different Canadian flags and they're all failing. Like people can't draw the leaf. And so they place a pixel and they go, and that's wrong. So then they got it, like when they place it down, they're like, that looks wrong. So then they got to fix it and they got to do it again. All right. So, 10 points every 5 minutes. Oh, okay. Then subs get a multiplier. So there is no way to... Thanks, Tara. There is no way to adjust that. Okay, so to answer your question, Cube, which I saw here... I don't know how to... I don't know. That's weird. Anyway. Not that I know I've got it. Cube asks, is Donkey Kong the cutest Smash character? No. But he's definitely the beefiest. Take that as you will. I'd say DK isn't the cutest, but he at least makes it to the top 60. How many characters in the game? Apparently last night the main flag got swapped into yellow and white, and the leaf turned into a banana? Bro, there's like 90 in there. I couldn't remember. I think it started with like 60 or 70, didn't it? And the label over named Canada also changed banana. Is that just one of the flags? Oh, goodness. All right, so you should be able to see my screen here. So we're going to be rating these controllers here. Now, I didn't make this. I just found it, and I thought this would be fun because there's some things on here that... Actually, hold on. I have used every single one of these before. I've like played and used these. Every single one. Huh. Nice. Oh my gosh. DK Bongos. Yo. Gamepad S tier. Alright. So here we go. So our tier levels are S. That's the top. I have the dance pad. I have the DK Bongos. Where's the dance pad? Where's the dance dance? That is a controller that's missing. You're right. S tier is the top. A, B, C, D, F. Garbage tier and worse than garbage tier. Alright, so just to start off here, we're gonna go ahead and move that N64 controller right into the garbage list. The garbage tier list. The Wii U gamepad is S. Donkey Kong Jungle Beat is such a good game and needs a remake ASAP. I never played that one. Wait, hold on. I played the song one. I didn't play the platforming Donkey Kong Bongos level. Is Jungle Beat the thing, that one that I'm talking about? Alright, N64 isn't the first controller with the joystick or something. In this list, yes. Wait, yes, that and then the NES. I mean, I guess maybe the keyboard. Maybe technically, but yeah. But I just had to get that one out of the way. So then we're gonna go here because I'm trying to. These are always tough because you got to find a place to put them, and I'm gonna go ahead and say I can rearrange these after, like, I'll put them there and go, you know what, that'll go up or down or whatever. And then we'll do a poll at the end of this to see what you would all say is the S tier. Okay. Oh, there they go. They're out there yelling and screaming. For anybody listening to the podcast and you hear kids screaming in the back, I'm not abusing them or anything. They're just brothers. It is called the Gaming Dadcast, so yes. All right, so here we go. So the Switch Pro controller. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and put that as an A. Yeah, I'd put it as an A because I want to reserve the S's for, like, these are the ones, like, if I could use this controller with every single console, I would. The 3DS itself. Well, no, you need the 3DS extra joystick thing, right? All right. Keyboard and mouse. Now, look, this is personal preference. So this is how I like them. Okay? Now, I recognize that keyboard and mouse is more efficient, especially with, like, first-person shooters and things like that, you know. I recognize that. I get it. I understand it. But for me, okay, I'm going to rate it as a B. No, I'm going to put it as an A. It deserves to be an A. It's not S tier to me because I'll never do it. I don't know. So that's just me. Not knocking it. All right, the GameCube controller. Now that is going to go up here in this S tier. That is a timeless in the Discord so we can play along. Sure. Let's go ahead and do that. Let me open up my Discord here. You're all going to see my Discord. Hopefully I'm not opened up on a chat here. Where should we put this? Maybe promotion time? Oh, no, I want to reserve that for you guys. Maybe in community play. Okay. Is Discord down, guys? Ruh-roh. True. Theory. Maybe I'll make a... I'll put it in community play for now. How about that? No, it on for me. Oh boy. Okay, well, let's just go here. Apparently the Discord app is down. Okay, that's weird, but whatever. All right, what we got here? Okay, that's cool. All right, I'm going to put it in community play. All right? So here's one. And then I'm just going to go ahead and copy this one just so that you have it, but we're doing the controller list first. And this is in community play. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put the in, and feel free to take screenshots and post them in there. And then, you know, I can even talk about that in the podcast, in the main podcast. All right, so we got GameCube is S tier. Theory. Racing. I'm going to put this right in the middle of the pack at C. Here's my reason. They're really awesome, okay? So the steering wheels are really awesome. But the problem is that they are for a very specific type of game, unless you're somebody named Cube and you like to try doing Overwatch and Dark Souls with it. Hence the name Wheelman Cubic. Is it Cubic X or Cubix? I've always just called you Cube, so I don't know what it is actually. Now I'm like really looking at it there. But they're not bad, but they're just very specific. And I mean, honestly, for racing games, especially after playing on the PS5, the DualSense, I like that a lot. I like the controllers. I like the haptic feedback. I like all that a lot. So, the steering wheel is going to be C. The Xbox, what do they call it? The Duke. How many does anybody? GameCube controller is a D for me. Ooh, Pat, that is a hot take. I was just about to put the Xbox Duke is gonna be a D for sure. It's not take cubic as in cubic meter and add an X sound to the end. So cubic X. I always called him Cube 2. Not sure if I've ever said it right too. I'm not alone. Thanks, Chrome. Thanks for that. Okay, so here we go. So the Duke controller is a D tier. The Rock Band guitar, I'm going to put that in D tier as well. Just because in a very similar fashion to that steering wheel, it's very specific. You can use it for other things. But it's not even, like, at least the wheel and everything, I don't know, like, you can do other stuff with it. I feel like with this gets a D because with the Rock Band controller, Rock Band controller, you can't, I mean, how are you gonna like move around? Like if you map it, just, I don't know, not good. You couldn't like remap it. At least the steering wheel, you could technically remap it and get around a world. It's weird and difficult. Yes, this is was this on the Wii or the Wii U? I think this was the Wii one. This is like the Wii weird oval gamepad where it had two joysticks in the middle and the buttons and the D-pad. Now, I will say, okay, so I'm going to give my reasoning. This is also going to be a D tier. No. It was the Wii. Okay, this was the Wii Pro Controller. Thank you. This is going to get a D. Now, it was going to be an F. Because it's wired, which, I mean, for something like the Wii, like, I think, I don't remember if they had a wireless version of it, but, like, didn't you have, if I remember correctly, didn't you have to plug it into the freaking Wii remote, like you did the nunchuck, and then play it or something? It was something weird about it. So, it would have been F, okay? But, well, actually, it would have been probably garbage tier. But it got moved up to an F because it offered a regular version-ish of a controller than the Wii remote and nunchuck. Okay? And then it gets moved to a D because the D-pad was good. I remember really specifically thinking, wow, the D-pad on this is great. Like, for the Virtual Console on the Wii, what did they call it, the Virtual Console then? I think they did. This controller was pretty great to use, from what I remember. It's been a long time, and I actually don't own one. It's always somebody else's house. So that's why it's D tier. So that's why I'm going to put it as a D tier there. The Power Glove, the Nintendo Power Glove. This thing is a gimmick, but it is a solid F. Now you're playing with power. So, what a concept. These are I mean, one thing I do miss about the Switch era of Nintendo, like that's not in the Switch era of Nintendo, is that like they do have some moments of wackiness. They don't have this kind of wackiness anymore. Like, with this generation. Like, this is just wacky. Like, did they, like, look at a sci-fi? I feel like they just looked at it like a sci-fi movie and they're like, we have to make something like that. A glove controller where it's literally the power is in the palm of your hand or on the back of your hand. And it was just, I've only ever, I don't know if I've ever used it for anything. I've worn one before somebody had one. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of felt cool wearing it, like having the thing on. But that's as far as it went. So that's F tier. Alright, so this is the Xbox, I believe that's the Series X, Series S, kind of the power of the sun in the palm of your hand. Okay, Dr. Octopus. We just rewatched that movie recently, by the way. Such a great movie. Um, not 2, but No Way Home. Anyway, this is the Series X, Series S, and I believe kind of like the Elite controller, but just, like not with all the extra bells and whistles that you can get with the Elite controller. Um, I'm assuming that's the Series S and X. Oh, this is incomplete. That is an Elite. So I'm gonna do. I don't even know if I can. Can I add? I wish I could add some pictures here. I don't know how to add. So at the end, we're gonna add some here. Okay. What I find interesting is that they had the Pro controller. Oh wait, no. What the heck is that? Oh, that's the. I found a controller I haven't used. The Ouya. Ouya, Ouya, Ouya. Would be an S tier if its bumpers didn't stick. Yes. So this is actually the Elite. So I can't rate this one. Well, if it's anything like the Xbox One S controllers, bumpers broke before the rest of it. Yeah, my white controller that came with the One S that we had gotten, the right bumper and the right trigger both stick. No, left bumper, right trigger stick. So, yeah. So I'm going to put this as an A. And I'm just going to go ahead and put this one as an A as well, because the same thing. The One S Series X. Well, no, because the Series X controller that I have is wonderful. I've had one moment where I thought it was drifting, and I did get a little bit of drift in the left joystick, but I like pushed the button in, pulled it out, pushed the button in, sprayed some air, and I haven't had an issue since. So I don't know what happened there. But I would rate the Series X controller. I don't know what they did differently. I would probably rate that as an S tier personally. But we'll get to that because they don't have the DualSense on here either. I mean, we all know where the DualSense is going to go. Interchangeable D-pad and changeable sticks for heights. Yep. So that's, yeah. And I forgot that you could do that. All right, the Wii U Pro controller here. Looking like the Xbox 360 controller. Oh, it had trigger adjustments too? I did not know that. That's rad. That's pretty cool. So the Wii U Pro controller, I would say, was a solid B. Because it's not in this... I wouldn't rate it as the same tier as the Pro controller, personally. But it was still a really good controller. I really enjoyed it. It was a solid... It had a decent... I don't know what it is with Nintendo in like recent years. They can't get a good D-pad set. I don't know why. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. But the D-pad it's definitely better than the Pro controller, but it still was, I don't know, a little floaty to me. But for whatever reason, the joysticks on the Wii U Pro controller felt really good. I don't know what it was. And something about the curvy nature of the controller was nice. But the reason it's not an A tier is because you really need those buttons swapped. So the buttons on the Wii U Pro controller were down by the D-pad. So like it's like the reverse of like the PS3 or like the PlayStation controllers, like the DualShock 2, DualShock 3, DualShock 4. Like it's the opposite of that. Not the greatest. All right. PS4 controller. Here's a hot take for you. PS4 controller is a C tier to me. I really enjoyed my PS4 a ton. More than I mean, I've been a PlayStation guy for a while. I've owned every one but the PS3, and the only reason I didn't get a PS3 is because it was so darn expensive at the time, and then by the time I could, I was like, I've moved on. PS4, the DualShock 4, the DS4, not a fan. Just uncomfortable to me. Just not good. I don't know. It was serviceable, so it's not D or below, but it's not that great. Not that great. The Ouya. That looks like garbage, so I'm going to put it as worse than garbage. I can't really rate that one. That's the one controller on this list that I have not used. I've not held in my hands, but it looks bad. And I mean the Ouya. Who remembers the Ouya? Raise your hand. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Ouya. And I'm pretty certain that's what that is. I could be wrong. I have a dislike for PS3 from two biases. Okay. Next we've got... Wait, what is this one? Isn't this another version of... This is a Nintendo console, isn't it? I don't know what this one is either, so I'm going to put this down at the bottom as worse than garbage. I've never heard of the Ouya. There you go. I've heard of the Ouya. And I'm pretty certain it's called the Ouya. Oh, they're going to go play Minecraft. Alright, I'm going to play Minecraft with you. Does anybody know what that controller is? I thought that... We already did the Wii U Pro Controller. We did the Wii Pro Controller. We did the Switch Pro Controller. What the heck is that? If I hover over, does it tell me? I have no idea what controller that is. So I'm going to put that as worse than garbage. Because I don't know what that is. Alright. Moving on. Another Wii... See, I thought it was a Wii Pro Controller. I think this is the Wii Pro Controller, right? That's a Wii Pro controller. Okay, so it's not worse than garbage. I would probably put that as the same as the Wii U Pro Controller, not this one. That's right. This is the Wii Pro Controller. This is the Wii U Pro Controller. This was the Wii stupid oval controller. Standard stick controller, that one's the Pro Controller. Got it. I knew it was another Nintendo controller. I'd seen it before. I know I've used it before. And it's not bad. It's a B tier. It's not bad. It's not great. It's there. It worked. And at the time for the Wii, it was a great alternative to the remote and nunchuck. All right, Dreamcast. The Dreamcast controller. Here's a hot take. That's gonna go in the A. Not quite S tier. First bias. My father managed to be so uncaring with controllers that'll... this is grossing me out already. My controllers, I clean them all the time. So uncaring with controllers that a layer of grime has never left the sticks, making it absolutely unusable. A few weeks after getting my own PS3, had the 99% update bug and couldn't fix. Second bias, a few weeks. Anyway, so the Dreamcast controller. Man, looking back at the Dreamcast, this is nothing new. What a weird system that was way ahead of its time. If it had, come out a little bit... I don't even know earlier. I don't know that it was separate because it sounded like that could be considered all one bias. Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. I understand now. So the Dreamcast controller, that little thing there in the middle, so you'd place the memory card at the top of it, and then, I don't know if it was every memory card or what, but you could pull it out and it was like a Tamagotchi, remember the little digital animals or whatever, and it had a D-pad and either one or two buttons on it. So it was like a little mini controller, and you'd put that in here. And the joystick was textured with bumps. You could play that One Terrible Zelda games on. No, that is the CDI, the Philips CDI. So no, that's not that one. That is not the Dreamcast. That is the Dreamcast, that one console you could play that One Terrible Zelda on. No, that's the Philips CDI. The Dreamcast is where Sonic Adventure and Crazy Taxi and a whole bunch of other games. It was way ahead of its time. But I don't remember the D-pad being anything remarkable. It was fine. The buttons were cool and colored. Holding it wasn't the most comfortable, but it wasn't bad either. But that joystick had this cool bump texture, it's bumpy. It was so great, and it was so cool. I don't know. I really remember that joystick. I remember playing it and playing Sonic Adventure and thinking like, this is the future of games. This is the future. And then the Dreamcast died, which is so sad. So that's an A tier to me. The Wii U gamepad, that's garbage. It's not garbage tier, but they barely made use of it. Yes, I would put the Wii U gamepad. It's almost an A for me, and maybe I freaking love the Game Pass. The gamepad, you mean? Yeah. It's almost an A, and I could be convinced it to be an A. It is surprisingly comfortable. It's just so big. It's like a kid's tablet, right? Like a Leapfrog or something, right? Like, it kind of goes against it. And part of it, too, like, part of these controllers, it's like, how does it look, as well? And I don't know. That it's just, yeah. Another down. It was glossy. It was a glossy controller. No. That gloss, I was cleaning that thing off every day, and I don't want to do that. That's the same reason why I don't like my consoles and my controllers to be white. The most I can tolerate is the Switch OLED has the white Joy-Con, and that's not that bad to me, but it's still kind of like, but like the PS5 drives me insane. At least it's not glossy. Now it does have the black gloss, and that gets dirty all the time, and it looks nasty. So the Wii U gamepad was glossy. That wasn't fun. The joysticks were good. It actually felt surprisingly good, and like Pat had said here in the chat, it had so much potential. There are some games, like if as we discussed in the previous podcast episode, and all the journal, the outlets covered this already, but the Wii U and 3DS eShop will be closing here in the next year-ish. And I highly recommend, should be limited to M-rated games. He's talking about the podcast episode. Nintendo Land was awesome. There was a game called Affordable Space Adventures. I highly recommend downloading it and playing it, especially if you can play with at least one other person. It is so freaking cool, and it used the gamepad so well. And there were some other games, like even just having the map, an interactive map while you're playing it and doing stuff. And I remember playing Deus Ex Human Revolution. There's two of them that I played. Human Revolution and Mankind Divided. Mankind Divided was on the PS4, I think. Human Revolution, I tried it, and it was super cool. And it just worked really, like, it's just great. Like, and that was the beginning of, like, wow, I can have console gaming in a handheld form factor. And I would go to bed. The problem with that was, like, you had to be within a very short range for it to work. And that sucked. Because I would love, like, just go and sit in bed. I do that with my Switch now. Like, that's the Switch. Cube says, I should say, loot boxes and or microtransactions should bump a game's rating up to M. 100%. And again, I don't know how much that would alleviate being a parent, from my perspective, like kids, or not being a parent, like even your nephews, nieces, cousins, whatever, like younger kids, and just seeing that, it's just makes me want to rant. Xenoblade Chronicles X with the free downloads. Yep. Get on that too. So yeah, so the Wii U gamepad, super cool concept. Some drawbacks. So not quite an A tier to me, but it's definitely a solid B. Upper echelon B. Xbox 360 controller. That one's going to be in the B tier as well. And I was not anti-Xbox, but I was like, Xbox, that's not going to last. The first Xbox, playing on the Duke, I was not super big into Halo, and I was like, I played a bunch of Halo with friends, and I was like, we had LAN parties, I was like, that's fine, whatever. I'd rather play a PlayStation or a game, PlayStation 2 or GameCube game at the time. But the 360 came along, and ended up getting it because of Gears of War, and man, and even now, like, the controllers kind of look goofy, like, they have this, like, weird, like, at the top and then like kind of hooks way down in the middle. But I don't know, like it still feels good and still works well. So yeah, it's a good solid B tier. The Sega Genesis controller. I'm gonna rate this one and the NES controller in a similar fashion here. Okay. Well, actually, not the NES, the SNES. Sorry. So the Sega Genesis and the SNES controller, I'm gonna put as solid C's. Okay. I loved them at the time, but as time has gone on, not a fan. You know, there's a reason why. Like I have originals. I have two original SNES controllers. I have two original NES controllers. I never owned a Sega Genesis, but I played a heck of a lot of it because of friends, and it's all right. I mean, if I were to further classify them, which I'm not in this tier list, Genesis controller is probably a high C, and the SNES is like a mid C. Okay. The Wii U, I don't know why they threw this in here. The Wii U Mario Kart steering wheel. This gets an F. I'm sorry. It would be garbage tier, but it was really ridiculous, stupid fun to be like, and it like not red, and then you go too far, and so then the controller's like too far, almost upside down, so then your guy starts going the other way. You turn so far left that you're turning right. The wheel is bad. He spelled it with two eyes. Knox, as a kid, I loved it so much. And see, that's the thing. Nostalgia is a heck of a thing, right? You know, I don't have a whole lot of nostalgia. By then, you know, I was older, around the Wii age, Wii 360, PS3. And, you know, honestly, at that time, like, I was like, I don't care about Nintendo anymore. And so that I got a Wii. I was super into the Wii, and then it came, and then I saw what it was, and then it came out, and I was like, oh. Wheelman Cube, a DLC should be an expansion, not something that can be added in a 1 megabyte update. Agreed, and that's the point I brought up. I think we're in agreement on that. Is it's not, they didn't carve into the game to sell you more. A DLC adds onto. So like the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe DLC is a whole new game. It's a whole new Mario Kart 8 game for half the price of a brand new game. So, okay. A lot of nostalgia with the GameCube, but I hate the controller, which is so crazy to me. The PS1 DualShock. So, I'm going to put this one, oddly enough, actually, so I'm going to put this as a C. So the DualShock 1, or I think it was just called the DualShock, is a C because it's very it's really good, and Tara's nostalgia lies with the Wii. The PS1, the DualShock 1 blew my mind, especially with the game like called Ape Escape, right? Because you had to have the DualShock in order to play it. You could not play that game without it. And I have Ape Escape. And it was just, at first I was like, why do we need these joysticks? This is so weird. But after playing, I remember playing Ape Escape and thinking like, I can't do this. This is so hard. This is weird on my brain and my hands. And I wonder if it's still kind of weird until now. Cute. I was wondering why you're talking about the podcast. I'm glad that's the goal. So yeah, so the DualShock 1 is a C tier. The DualShock 2 is a B tier to me. I feel like it took the DualShock 1. It didn't change a whole lot, but it was just enough, and it made it better. And I actually got a second, or you know, like a second hand, like a third party PS2 controller. I do have two original PS2 controllers somewhere. I just can't find them right now, and all the move that we had here with the remodel. I'm also missing my SNES controllers and my NES controllers, and my 360 controllers. I gotta find all that stuff again. It's out in the garage somewhere. So I ended up getting this thing for $8, but it feels the same as like a PS2 controller, just not a little bit less hefty. And man, it's great. It's really good. I don't know what it's something about it. It's really good. So the DualShock 2 is a B tier. The NES, gotta be honest, man, that's a D tier. I mean, that was the first game console. I have the nostalgia there, but the more I play it, I'm like, I'm not the ridges, the square feel. I think the biggest difference, if they would have rounded the edges, if it wasn't just a rectangle, I think that would bump it from a D tier to at least an A. The D-pad is amazing. The buttons are amazing. The start and the select are a little bit too far in. It's a little bit too small to my liking. The color scheme is fantastic, but I think the killer is the box. I only have the PS1, but I do like the PS3 controller after using it on PC. I've never had an NES. Ooh. I mean, just play on NSO if you get NSO. All right, so now here is the Sega Genesis 3 button. So I forgot to mention, the Sega Genesis controller before was a 6 button. So actually, I'm going to change that. The Sega Genesis 6 button is a B tier. The Sega Genesis 3 button is the C tier. That's what I was thinking of earlier. Those extra 3 buttons make a difference for fighting games. I don't know, it was really cool. We've passed like 20 minutes. That's okay. And 20 years. I was going to say, and the last 20 years. My mom sold it before I was born. That sucks, Pat. I mean, yeah. I got one later from a friend that just gave it to me. But, like it was my mom's. And so then when my mom and dad had divorced, she took it. And so I didn't really play it anymore. And so then by then I had moved on to SNES. So, yeah. The Wii remote. Okay, so I would say the Wii remote starts as an F. Okay, so here's my reasoning. I probably would have hated it, yeah. The Wii remote is an F tier because you had to get the full controller, you had to plug in an nunchuck to get that joystick. And that was a whole additional extra cost for one controller. One complete controller. And it just didn't... They tried to make it like a TV remote, and I've never had a TV remote as uncomfortable and look like that thing. But it gets moved up to a D tier because the trigger placement is fantastic. The D-pad... The placement is bad, so I'd move it back down. But the D-pad is really good, so I move it back up. And then it had a speaker in it. And it was just so cool. Like, such a cool gimmick and concept to, like, aim. And it, like, tracked well, especially, thank you, the B button. That was the trigger. Thank you, Pat. But, like, especially the Wii Plus remote. It was just so cool. Yeah, exactly. They wanted it to be intuitive like a TV remote is, which I guess they did get to that point, but it was just uncomfortable. So I'm going to place the Wii remote as a C tier. So it's like it started off as an F, but there are a couple of big things that really boosted up. The D-pad itself is really good. The B button placement is fantastic. And it was just a really cool like that was the beginning to me of like these controllers adopting cool tech in them. And now like that's if you don't have the cool tech in your controller of some sort, it feels like you're almost left out now. Like, I feel like that's where we're heading. All right. Now we've got the classic joystick. Ah, yes. A single button and a joystick. I'm sorry. You know what? I won't give it an F tier. That's going to be a D tier. That's going to be along with the NES. If you don't have the cool tech, you are Microsoft. Yeah, of all the... Even they have some kind of cool tech in there, but not a whole lot. The plug and play. I don't even know how to use this. Nobody really does, Pat. They just kind of work around it. Oh, man. All right. So, I'm gonna place the joystick as a D tier along with the NES. You know, I feel like that's a good place to put it. All right, so now we've got the DS3. Now, I'm gonna put this one as a B tier as well. I don't know what it was. I like the button placements here. A big thing with the DS4 is like these little buttons, and I have the same thing with the DualSense too, but it's a little bit less. Like the square button and the start button, and then the D-pad and that whatever. But I don't remember what that was there. I just was too close for the DS4. Plus, it was just uncomfortable. For whatever reason, the DS3 felt more comfortable to me. Not so like if I'm rating it against the PS2, the PS2 is a high B tier. The DS3 is a low B tier. Look the same to me. They're largely the same, but I don't know. The key difference is that the DS3 was wireless. The DS2 was not. Okay, so then you don't see that there. They cut the cord on the picture. I'm not really ranking them in tiers cube. I'm just kind of giving clarifications. I'm just putting them in a tier, and I'm saying like just to clarify, like I'm putting the DS2 and the DS3 in the same. But personally, the DS2 to me felt more comfortable, so that was a little bit higher to me in the B tier. The DS3 was a little bit lower in the B tier. And that is B as in boy. Because I know I say my B's and my D's weird. Anyway. The Joy-Con. I'd say that's a solid in the middle. Because they have really cool features. I love it. It's more the hardware, I guess. But like the fact that your console comes with 2 controllers for mini games, right? Nice gimmicks. And let me tell you, I got game changers. So if you can see this here, I got these little things. They're on Amazon. And if you can see my joysticks there, I placed them on there. And I replaced the joysticks on all these. I only had drift on one. Actually, I think it was this set. And it was on my right stick, not my left. And it was only a slight drift. But I changed as you can see, I changed the case on these. I've changed all the joysticks in this house except for my new Switch OLED ones, which feel different, by the way. They don't feel like the other Joy-Cons, so I wonder if they fixed it. I don't know if they did. Can't say. But I replaced these joysticks with Amazon things, and it's super easy to do. No problems, and they're great now. So maybe that's an option. And then also I added these, like, it's hard to tell in the camera. Do you see the texture on that thing? Look at the texture. So it not only raises it, but it adds that texture, and it makes it so much better. So that's why it's a C. Only when I'm in the car, yep. I basically use the Joy-Con in handheld mode. And I play handheld mode all the time. And even then, I use my Satisfy grip. So it's like, it makes the Joy-Con a bit along with those little thumb sticks. Then I would say it turns these additions turn it into a B tier to me. But we're not rating all the additions. Exactly. They shouldn't add to the tier. So, yeah, you're right. I would say the Joy-Cons are not C. They're D. They're not I wouldn't say they're garbage. No. Here's my reasoning for not going lower into just the garbage tier. They're garbage. They start in garbage tier because of all the stuff. I said F tier, gimmicky garbage. But Cube said garbage tier, or worse than garbage at times. So, that being said, gimmicky garbage. It's here. Okay? The fact that you can use the gyro, and now other control, like the DualSense can do it too. But you can use the gyro, and I can't play. Now the Pro controller has it too, but they do have gyro, so that's in its favor. So it's like halfway up into the F rank, right? The HD Rumble gives it a solid tier up. Like the HD rumble is great. The problem is Nintendo didn't even use that the way they should. Like especially like using the DualSense and feeling it. It's like the same company made these controllers for that made the Joy-Con made the DualSense, which by the way, I've had drift and my trigger is broken on one of my DualSense controllers. I had to send it back. I paid like $15 to do the shipping. Sony didn't pay for it, but they fixed it and sent it back. So anyway, so that's that. And then I'd probably put it in D tier, just because. Gosh, it's so hard. I'll probably just leave it in F. Because it's like I want to move it up to the D tier because they are gimmicky garbage and they do have some really good features, but I'm going to probably leave them as F. They use it in a good way once in one Switch too. Well, no, and there are even other games that use it really well. Like, they're just watching. There are other games that use it really well, like Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. And it's like you can feel like when you get up on the edges of the road and stuff, like you can feel the bumps are different. Or Mario Odyssey, when like when you're looking for those stars in the ground, it's so cool. You can tell where they're at because of the HD rumble. Or even little things like when you throw your cap at one of the telescope things or whatever, and when you turn around and you hear that like you feel it, and it's subtle. And there's a whole bunch of games on the Switch that use it very subtly. Does something good for it? No. Skyward Sword? No. Doesn't. And that's the problem, is that they don't. If they use the HD rumble more, this would be an easy D, maybe even a C. But they don't. And it's like, it's really cool. And especially seeing the DualSense and Sony actually using their DualSense, their controller, in more than just one game, hardcore. It's just a shame. Like, and it sucks because I know Nintendo's going to be like, well, we're done with that. Let's move on and just do something else. It was the same on the Wii. Yep. All right. So now we've got I believe is this a Famicom controller? That's going to be easy. That's just going to be rated the same as the NES controller. I mean, it's basically the same. I don't know what that is. Anyway. DK Bongos. S tier, baby. I'm going to rate these as a C. The DK Bongos, they get the C tier for the same reason as the steering wheel. They're actually really cool. They work really well. They're a super cool gimmick, but they're literally for 2 games. And even one of them is like, from what I've seen and all that stuff, it's like everybody does complain about the platformer DK with it. So I'd probably rate it as a C. And then once I download this, coward, and then once I don't know how to add, but once I download this, I'm going to throw in the Series X controllers in S tier, and the PS5 DualSense is in S tier. Easy. So my 3 S tiers are the GameCube. Got one. I just realized I got one from each of the main companies. Donkey Konga, do. That was such a cool thing, but I thought it was always so funny that like with when you played the DK music game, the rhythm game, like you're supposed to clap, right? And there's a microphone there. What we would do, especially because after a while your hands start to get just really like raw. PS5 and gamepad are my 2 S tiers. The Mario Kart steering wheels by S tier. But, you know, your hands would get raw. So we got to a point where we were literally just, like, on the bongos, like, just going, and, like, doing, like, front or back. And then, like, whenever it was a clap, we would just go, ah, into the microphone, grab it, and go, ah. So, all right, so there we go. So there's our rating controllers. So, just so that you know, Cube, I'm not talking anything about the game or the story. I'm talking very broad strokes here. And just kind of like what it meant to me during the pandemic and during all the garbage that happened, that went on. And It's no story beats are going to be spoiled. No gameplay is going to be spoiled that you wouldn't already know, like what kind of style of game it is. And outside of literally Ichiban, I'm just going to mention Ichiban's name and his crew, and that's all I'm going to talk about. And it's going to be pretty brief. But I do want to. I do want to talk about. We were talking about it in chat today too, and I had been thinking about the game, and I reinstalled it on my PS5. I'd taken it off because I'm like, well, I'll get back to it and play it again. But I have these other games. But because I have the 2 terabyte hard drive now, it's just like I'm putting that on there. So next time I can just pop that disc in and go. But I do want to talk about it. So Yakuza Like a Dragon. So like I had mentioned before, and maybe in this actually, maybe in the podcast coming up this week. I had mentioned before that I tried Yakuza Kiwami, and it wasn't bad. It just wasn't for me. Didn't really like it. Didn't care for it much. But then my brother-in-law recommended Yakuza Like a Dragon to me. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, man, it's good. In fact, I just finished, like, give me like a day or two, I'm wrapping it up, and you can borrow mine. And I was like, cool, okay. And so I borrowed his copy of it. And I beat it. I got close to, I got a giant chunk of the trophies in it. I played it a ton. And then returned it to him. And then when they announced the PS5 version was coming, I bought it for myself. Because I love it, and I just wanted. I mean, I don't think there's that big of an improvement with the PS5 version. Load times alone are gonna be great. All right, Cube, see ya. That being said, so I played it again. I got to shower off the dust from sanding. Ooh, sandy cheeks. Go watch them sandy cheeks. SpongeBob reference. Come on. Anyway, so I played this game. And in Like a Dragon, you play as Ichiban. And that's the guy that's on the cover with the crazy fro going on. He's got the bat with the crab on it. And long story short, my dad and I bought island countertops that we cut down for desks. Nice. Okay. Island countertops. Interesting. So, I mean, 'cause cheap. I get it. It's crazy how expensive desks are. Anyway, so you play as Ichiban, and I'm not gonna release, any details about it or anything like that. But bad stuff, just down on his luck stuff, right? Not his fault, and he's just this really like oddly optimistic guy. Okay. And so I played this during the middle of the pandemic when it was like everybody stay home. Don't know what's going on with this thing. And just a lot of people that I knew, their true colors were starting to show with other things, political, with COVID and all this stuff, right? And I had major trust issues, okay? And so I played this game, and Ichiban had all this. So like the character they wrote in this game, all this bad stuff happens. Okay, I'm not gonna go into detail, and it's like right at the beginning. And here's this dude that just didn't care. He knew his duty. He knew what he needed to do. In his eyes, within the Yakuza, he did what was right, and he just kept he would just do the work, even if he didn't know how to do it, even if it was it was crazy. And then like he would show up. Yeah, it's just like a Shonen Jump character, right? Where even enemies, like, he would make friends with them. And so here's this guy, has every right to become cynical and a jerk and not have any friends, and he has a crew in this game, and they will stand by him. And it's like, they really, the way that they wrote it, the characters, the voice actors, and the way they portrayed it, it really felt like they had become like a family of friends, and just their interactions. And he's kind of a doofus. I wouldn't say he's dumb, and he's not smart either. He can be clever at times, but he's just kind of a doofus. But he's a very lovable doofus, and he's a very capable doofus. And I really related to him because I'm a doofus too. I really related to it because of everything going on in the real world. And it was just that sense of like, things can suck, and that's life, but then you can get back up and keep going. And just put your head down and do more work. Do the work that needs to be done. And Ichiban is such a charismatic character. And not even getting into all the gameplay. Again, I want to do a proper review talk about this in the mainline podcast. But everything about it, the music, the gameplay, the visuals, that's just how bonkers the game is itself. It's a typical Yakuza game. They're crazy. They're crazy. But here's this dude, and by the end, like when everything's going down and when like the finale happens, I was like, yeah, like fist pumping, like, yeah, Ichiban, yeah, you got this. It was just, they did it so well. And what's funny is this is a Yakuza game. He part of the Yakuza, which is not a good thing, right? But it's different. These games are different. If you've ever played one, you'll know. So I just wanted to highlight that, and I'm so glad that Cube, in the Discord, how he posted that. I'm glad that Cube's going to give it a try. The game is a JRPG, and in fact, it's not like a Dragon Quest game. Like there's some aspects that are like Dragon Quest, but Dragon Quest is huge in Japan, like huge in Japan. I didn't realize this until like I think it was like last year I found this out, and or like when I played this game. So when that was actually a couple years ago now. Jeez, time flies. And so I didn't know Dragon Quest is huge, and so like he really loves JRPG, loves Dragon Quest, and so it's like almost like in his mind when he's fighting these enemies in the streets, it's a JRPG to him. So like it makes you wonder, like, are the people fighting, are they like just seeing this guy like sit there and wait, and then like, like, all right, now you go, all right, now my turn, and then like go from the, like go through there. It just makes you wonder, like, is that what they're seeing? Like, you don't see that on the screen, you see a JRPG. But here's this dude that had every right to just be sad, cynical, a jerk, and he didn't. He just stayed optimistic, and he would acknowledge. The cool thing that I liked about it is he would acknowledge and be like, yeah, that sucks, but, and then proceed to be optimistic. And then just like the goober nature of like everything's a JRPG to him, and just how bonkers the game is. Highly, even if you don't like the other Yakuza games, this one, it is so good. I love it. It's like one of my favorite games. It is so good and surprising. So highly recommend Like a Dragon. Highly recommend it. And I will do a proper highlight of it in the podcast, but I just wanted to discuss that. So anyway, that's all we've got for tonight. That's all I wanted to do. Maybe in future streams like this, and like I said, I added there goes my dog again, barking at random things. Chubbs, it's me. Nobody's out there. You're picking up bad habits from Frankie. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So anyway, in future ones, maybe we'll do other things. I added those extra channel points, features, uses. I'm going to think of some more, try to add some more in there. Think of games. Think of game soundtracks or songs that you want me to listen to so you can redeem your electrics in the stream here. And then, we'll go from there. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit, guys. I appreciate it. This went better than I expected, which is always a great thing. I appreciate you guys as always, and for any of you that are listening in, you should come hang out with us in the Twitch streams. The handle is Bauer Tendo. Usually stream on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, and I might make Sundays maybe 7 p.m. Pacific time. I might make that this time to do these stream podcast things. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys. Take it easy. Be on the lookout. I'll upload this on the podcast. I'll probably upload this to YouTube as well. And yeah, take it easy. And until next time, bye.